That's not right. Try again. See the magical chime. It makes everybody know that it's time for us to begin. So good morning, and welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Paula. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm your service leader today. Yay! I say yay because I love doing this. Let's settle into our shared sacred space. Now's the time to turn off the dinger on your phone or whatever it is you're carrying around in your pocket. Heaven help us. Relax, we're all here. We often hear from committees to keep up with the business of the church, and we all want to do that now and get it out of the way. Not that it's a burden, it's just that it would be intrusive to have it in the middle of the program. So.
Hello, everybody. Oh, hello. Hello, it's me. Tomorrow night is the men's support group. It's at 6:30 here at the church. Carl Packham has graciously said that he would lead as I'm going to be gone tomorrow. So those of you who, the men who have not come and want to talk to me about it, I'll be here for a little bit after church. But tomorrow at 6:30 it's potluck, or you can bring your own. So come on down.
Good morning, Margie Bolak with membership. Next Sunday, right after services, we'll have the new member orientation for those who are planning on joining. On April 2nd will be our the flower service where we will be inducting new members. In any case, flower service, this will be coming out in notable news. In flower service, everybody brings a flower, and then we put them in a large joint bouquet, and then we go home with a different flower. But in any case, right, after services next Sunday, let me know if you will be coming, and I'd love to see you there. Okay, thanks.
Morning, Mary Ann Feldheim, Social Action Committee. There seems to be some confusion, but SAC is meeting next Sunday after service, so we hope that those who are interested will come. We also have a Zoom link for those who are out there. Please do continue to donate to Knight's Pantry. We have a box here for things that students who basically are forsaking some necessities in life for their education can get, whether that's food, whether that's personal items, razors, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes. So please do, we do this on an ongoing basis. And we do with Share the Plate this quarter with the ACLU, and we hope that you will give generously. And just as a final note, today is Faith in Action Sunday, and we will be honoring Women's History Month. So, thank you.
Hi, Lori Streel Hospitality, and I have another great opportunity for you. Joey has gotten volunteers for next month, so we've got coffee covered, but I'm still looking for some snacks. So please approach me if you're able to bring some snacks for our breakfasts on Sundays. Thank you.
Good morning, Lindsay Stroh from Sprungtime, our auction that's coming up. We have, at this point, about $4,200 worth of donations and more coming in. So thank you to everybody that's been helping do that, and our amazing auction committee that's been going to businesses and things as well. I thank you who have already signed up for, that you're going to be here for meals, because we do need to know how many people to cook for. If you haven't done that yet, I'll put this clipboard over by the snacks so you can give me your name. That's the good news. The less than good news, but will be good news, is that in order to bid at the auction, you have to have a bidder number. In order to have a bidder number, you need to register on the website. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on the computer. This is the website. It's in Notable News under the auction, virtualauction.bid/UUUF. All you need to do is go on there and register that you're going to be there, because that way you get a bidder number and you can bid. You'll be able to bid in advance, starting, well, it's the end date, but probably April 1st or April 2nd. You'll be able to bid online, and we're inviting people that can't come to still bid online, and we're going to have a wonderful time. But at this point, I think I have 5 people signed up that they're coming online. I've got about a lot more than that said they're going to eat. But if you want to bid, you need to go on the computer and register. So please, please do that. We're going to have a great time. Thanks.
Leslie. Yes. For those who would like to help getting donations from local businesses, do you have a letter or something?
I surely do. I have it with me, and I just come up and ask.
And just to follow on with that, next week I'll be bringing out a handout with all the instructions on how to register for a bidder number, including a QR code to get you right to the right web page and all of that information. So sorry we don't have that today, but next week we'll have all the information on a sheet of paper you can take home with you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I am also here to remind people that next week we are having a discussion about the Article 2. That's the suggestion for the revision to the 7 principles. Reverend Tracy spoke about it a few weeks ago. We will have an in-person meeting here at 1 o'clock. There will be childcare for people who need it. And that will be only in person. There will then that night at 7 o'clock be a Zoom meeting for people that aren't able to come at 1. You can join us online at 7 o'clock. And again, this is going to be a discussion time for questions and trying to get people to better understand what it is that's being proposed and how they feel about it.
Will there be a link or something to the Zoom?
Yes, it'll be the same link you use for Sunday service.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
This announcement is from John Mowbray and the Marketing Committee. We're going to be holding an event here from the UCF Pegasus String Quartet event. The summary is there will be the UCF Graduate String Quartet featuring internationally acclaimed violinist, viola player, Dr. I'm going to butcher this, Dr. Akio Yonatani. Well, thank you. This person will be performing on Friday, March 24th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. here. The concert goers will experience an acoustic performance in an intimate setting surrounded by luminous candles. Join us for the event of exceptional chamber music featuring works by Rachmaninoff, Britten, Andel, Spoor and Bach. Light hors d'oeuvres, beer, and wine will be available. It is, I'm told, it is not to be missed. Tickets can be purchased through Eventbrite or from our websites or the Facebook page, I believe it is. The tickets, the adults are 20, the students and seniors are 15, or we'll take donations if you aren't able to provide that, okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ender. Last week was our first D&D session for the UUUF D&D group, and it's Dungeons and Dragons, and it was an outstanding success. We will be doing it again next week at 2 o'clock. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Jules. We are meeting, my calendar went away.
Who's we?
Women's group, sorry. Women's group is meeting next Friday, the 31st at 6:30. We're gonna make chalices. They're gonna be little clay pots. We're just gonna paint them. It's gonna be fun.
So it's 2 Fridays, not this coming Friday.
Yes, not this coming Friday, then Friday after, 31st. 31st. What did I say? I don't know. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's it.
Of course, it's 2 separate Fridays. It can't be in the same time that we're having the quartet. Okay, so. And there we are. My opening words this morning are, sometimes I feel discriminated against. This is from Wild Words from Wild Women. Sometimes I feel discriminated against, but it does not make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How could anyone deny themselves the pleasures of my company? It's just beyond me. Zora Neale Hurston. In our opening music, hymn number 112, Do You Hear? You could find that in this gray book. The lyrics will be on the wall, on the screen thing. And as I understand it, Michael Richards is going to lead our songs. Were you going to lead our songs? No? I got a memo that you would be doing this since the person who was planning to is not well enough to be here today. Oh, no. No. Paula will not be Paula doesn't know this tune and will not be leading it. Paula will be drinking tea. Ooh. Would you play it all the way through once for us? That'll give us some kind of foundation. She's a wonder. Do you hear, oh my friend, in the place where you stand, though the sky through the land? Do you hear, in the heights on the plain, in the vale on the main, in the sun, in the rain? Do you hear, through the roar, through the rush, through the throng, through the of your soul, of your soul. Hear the I will be still. Hear the heart's call to will. Hear a sigh's startling trill. In your soul, in your soul. From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear, oh my friend? Do you hear all the dreams, all the dares, all the sighs, all the prayers, are they yours, mine and theirs? Do you hear? Do you hear? You guys do great work. Our chalice lighter this morning is Livy, whose pronouns are she and her. Coolest thing in her life lately is that she went to LegoCon and got to see some Lego masters. Wonder what it takes to be a Lego master. Good work. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And we affirm our relationship to each other as we strive to make it. We're not always perfect, but we're still striving. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Special welcome to our guests. We have several here. Yay! It's fun to have guests. And we're a welcoming church. Whoever you are, however you are, you're welcome here. And I'd invite you to come several times and really sample the breadth of what we have to offer and the depths of it all. Take a moment right now and say hello to those people nearest you. I'd invite you to continue those conversations after the service while we all share coffee and tea and some kind of snacks and whatnot. Conversation. In this congregation, we share joys and concerns. Joys shared seem to grow and blossom, and sorrows, concerns shared seem diminished and lighter and easier to bear. And we invite you to come up to our microphone, remembering that anything said into this microphone goes out into the internet, where it will live forever. Just so as you know.
Gosh, I have the whole room to myself. Kelly's mom, Joyce, is out of rehab and will continue rehab at home. But that's being scheduled, and the hardware and all that stuff is being gotten together. She's doing much better, though. She's resting and eating better at home. And she appreciates Pastoral Care's attention and the cards and all that wonderful stuff. So thank you very much.
Greetings, David McElroy. I have a joy. Marilyn and I had been doing once a year Christmas carol that many of you have seen. And this year we've decided to pop back up, and we're going to do a staged reading of a new play called The Children, April 22nd and 23rd, and we will be sending out information. You'll probably hear from me hundreds of times, I'm sure. So,
My favorite Facebook posts. Joey Cole. My husband was in the hospital 2 days this week. It's back to good days and bad days. Just if you would keep us in your thoughts and send him some healing. Some healing juju. That's good. He is. We're hoping to get him cleared from the with cardiology this week, so that he can get his hernia operated on next week. So again, we need lots of good thoughts.
You need to call pastoral care, Joy. Lorraine Williams. I had a traumatic event this week, and I think in post-traumatic stress. My dog was attacked. An 80-pound dog jumped my little 15-pound dog on it, and I'm probably going to... Anyway, it was very disturbing. I took him to the vet. He's got a puncture wound in his neck. He seems to be okay. There's a lot of... When a little dog is attacked by a big dog, it's like a person getting hit by a car. You hurt all over, and things get whipped around and all this kind of stuff. But he does seem to be okay. I think it's his mother that's having more trouble than he is. So just keep us all in your thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Hello. I have one concern. One joy and one concern. My concern is that spring break is over tomorrow. Boo-hoo, we all have to go to school tomorrow. Wait, all of us? Wow. And my joy is that I forgot what I was gonna say. Hi, I'm Annika Wheeler. I went to my grandma's house because my sister went to a Lego place where they build, and she got a Lego car. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Chloe Hatfield. I have a concern. My phone decided it wanted to go swimming yesterday for 10 to 15 minutes without me knowing. So that was fun. And the funny thing is that it still completely worked afterwards. It didn't die until today. So my plans for today have been rescheduled to going to the phone store to get a new phone. So.
Hi, Jules again. I have a little bit of a concern because my dog, we took him to the vet, and he's got like an ulcer and an ear infection and all these things going on, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? Like, we were fine like a day ago. What happened? Like, yeah, so a little worried, but he is so far healing just fine. I was just a little sad. He made me more sad than like he normally does, because I'm like, he normally has like a little, like, he has like the puppy dog face and he's super cute, but like I was so worried. Oh my god.
Why is everyone's dogs getting hurt this week? Now all I can think about is dogs, but my joy is that I gotta go see my dad for this whole entire spring break, which was really fun, but my concern is I had to head home early because I ran out of medication.
Sorry that got cut short. I have a joy online from Laura Owens, and it's actually one that I share as well. A joy that Mary Ann is such an amazing SAC leader, and we're so grateful to her.
My dog is fine. Several people have asked how my father's doing. You might recall he was literally at death's door not but a month ago. So what I want to share is that his doctor, the big guy in charge, decided that at 85, my Italian, very robust father wasn't going to be able to handle an MRI and would not do an MRI to figure out what the problem was. So my wee little bitty sister and my mother, who's not much bigger, marched to that doctor's office, sat in his lobby, and announced they were not going to leave until he could explain in a way that made sense why he would not approve an MRI. Okay, long story short, fast forward, he had the MRI. They figured out that he actually had an infection in his pelvic bone. They've been treating that with intravenous antibiotics. He's been home taking the antibiotics intravenously at home, is now off the antibiotics and doing well. So he went from being at death's door to being fine.
The persistence of women and modern medicine. Do we have a time for all ages today? Yes, here comes Chloe.
Hello, hi. I'm Chloe. I am one of the RE educators in the back. During Time for All Ages, we've decided to start letting the congregation know what exactly we're going to be doing in the back with your children, just so you can ask them questions afterwards on the ride home, or even if you spot one of the kids after service, you can ask them what they learned about. All right, so in the littlest classroom, which is grades K through 2nd, we are learning, we are continuing to learn about heaven and hell through Sufi and Islamic stories. In the upper elementary classroom, which is going to be 3rd grade through 5th grade, we're learning about Batwoman, and we're continuing Superhero Academy, bless you again, and how a person with how to be a person with integrity, and also we are designing our own superhero identities, which should be pretty fun. And then in the middlers classroom, which is middle school and up, we are exploring how the future is not set, but can be changed by our actions. Thank you very much.
Superpowers. Woo.
So it is the pledge drive season. I know you're all as excited as I am. This is the time of year where we all make our commitment for financial support of the congregation for the upcoming fiscal year. And as part of this, we're going to have a little segment each service for the next couple weeks from our members talking about why they personally support Triple U. And today, Michelle Flores is going to speak to us.
Thank you. I was told 1.5 to 2 minutes, so if I keep looking at my clock, it's to make sure I don't go too long. My name is Michelle Flores, and I just kind of wanted to speak briefly on why we're here. I've really enjoyed being here. My youngest child decided that they wanted to go to church a few years ago, and initially I was like, oh God, you know, I totally support you. let's go. Where are you thinking about going? And they were like, oh, I want to go to UU down the road. And I was like, oh, yeah, we can go. Let's go. Because I'd already kind of read up on UU, and I understood that it was like based on principles and values instead of like a particular kind of religion. And that was really important to me. so I knew their values aligned with mine. We've now been here since, oh gosh, it was August of 2019. And, kind of stuck around through COVID and all those things. And it's been incredible. I'm getting goosebumps. I might be a little teary-eyed. I've been a little emotional this morning anyway. So I've had the opportunity to work with the littlest UUs in the back and volunteered quite a bit back there. That has been really cool to see these kids understand our values and our principles through different stories. My child also works with the kids back there a lot and has, I guess, like 2 years now. Is it about 2 years? So that's been really, really cool. In addition to that, I feel like we get a lot from the congregation. I know just hearing the different things that we talk about, I love that we get to learn about our values and principles through different stories that may or may not be affiliated with different religions and different traditions. And I really appreciate that. That's really, really important to me. I know too, there have been times where I've been struggling through some stuff, and I come up here and I share my joys and concerns, and the outpouring of support and love has been fantastic. I know that no matter what's going on, I have a place for support here, and that my child and I have a place to grow. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I know that many of you also support Triple U. I want to encourage everybody to support it. You can go to the Triple U website, and there's a banner across the top about the pledge drive. Click on that, make your pledge. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. Okay. So I'll just say this about that. Freely have we received of gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wider concerns a portion of this bounty. And our youngest will be bringing around baskets to receive all this. They see how you. Such a treat to have a keyboard artist with us. When celebrating, oh, we're going to sing them out, aren't we? Love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. I love this. When celebrating Women's History Month, it is important to understand the role women have played in our patriarchal capitalist society. We proudly celebrate the accomplishments of women and the gains women have made during the past 100 years to legally secure equality and freedom. This year, more than any other in the past, these legal gains are under attack and are being rescinded in Florida and around the country. Our principles dictate that we educate ourselves on the implication of proposed legislation and court decisions and exercise our democratic rights to support the equality of women. And I'm going to give to you Mary Ann Feldheim, our speaker today. She's been a member of Triple U since 2020. Nope. Since 2020? I thought you were here before that. Oh, excuse me. She's been a member, she's been here forever. And embracing our principles and values, I think she embraced them long before that. Her background has been in healthcare and education, teaching ethical service in the public and nonprofit sectors. She has directly benefited from the legal changes to women's rights during the past 60 years and strongly advocates for meritocracy and the advancement of women.
Don't be shy, you can sing along. I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore. And I know too much to go back and pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor, and no one's ever gonna keep me down again. Oh yes, I'm wise, but it's wisdom for the pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman.
Thank you. And next slide. Move on. All right, so one with writing. Perfect. So we did, in the Social Action Committee, we were looking for a speaker, so I did reach out to several people who were traveling, who couldn't come, so here I am. And this is something dear to my heart, so certainly Paula talked about it. It's, I have directly benefited. And everyone in this room, man or woman or the children, have benefited from changes. And it's good to know because I have agonized for many years that we made a lot of gains, but then it stopped because people accepted this is how it's always been. This is not how it's always been. So if you look at the piece here, that this country was founded by men. They wrote the history. They were the ones who were doing the exploring, being the politicians, making all the decisions. All right, women. As I was reading on this, there weren't that many women who were actually coming over with men, mail-order brides, indentured servants. So what we're talking about is really women who had an inferior role. And part of this came because you could easily identify through years that women are different. And people who are different many times are designated inferior. And one of the things we have all and continue to deal with is this culture of womanhood, which is the whole idea that a good woman, a true woman, is subservient. A true woman is going to be kind, stepped back, do what is necessary. And in cultures, basically the European cultures and ours, we have a society based on capitalism. We have a society which really needs women to support in the background. So it was something we were all really brought up with. We don't think much about. So how did they treat people who were not subservient, people who spoke their mind. Paul is going, ooh, yeah. Witches, yes. And the other is bitches. And we still do it. Hillary Clinton, when she ran for president, she was demonized. I mean, you say her name and shackles go up on people who, because it was that she was against the grain. She wasn't being that subservient woman. And I'll tell you, I was talking with, we recently moved to Westminster Baldwin Park, and this wonderful lady who's 85 was sharing her story. She went to Vassar, she went to Yale, she was a planner, she did great things. And when she first got out, she was working for the NIH, the National Institute of Health. And she was in mental institutions looking, talking to people, seeing what was there. She saw a lot of women. And one of the women asked her, how do we get out? How do we get out? And these were women who were acting out. These were women who were speaking. And she said, be like the nurses. Be subservient. Be quiet. And over time, she saw that several women got out because they decided that maybe it wasn't so great to be the ones speaking out, that maybe you had to move to do that. Can we have the next slide? So this was English law. 1632, this is the official law that was in England, came over here, became our official law. So if you're not familiar with this, this was basically the shackles that every woman had to deal with, that you couldn't, you were basically, well, an intimate, what do they call it? Well, you were property, and the key piece is that husbands could control any personal property, anything you inherited, any work. If you did work and got paid, it was theirs. The other part was that husbands could control and reprimand their wives. That, quote, within an inch of her life, literally that was in the law, that they could beat a woman until, they couldn't kill her, but they could beat her until she was close. And we wonder about domestic violence. This isn't something, that whole culture hasn't gone away. It's still with us. There was 400, 500 years, more than that, this whole idea that women were property. There was a stigma that men were rational, women were emotional. They were irrational. A lot of things got put on that. If you're irrational, that means you can't go to law school, medical school. You can't go to college because you can't think. The other is that you've heard of hysteria, right? All right. Where did that come from? Yeah, the womb. There we go. It was something that women were being designated, you are hysterical, you're not thinking clearly. And I will tell you, in the 70s, there was Women on the Rag on the Rage, which was just reinforcing that whole piece, that women weren't able to make decisions. Can we have the next slide? One thing that was really distressing that I'd heard about but not really done much was the American Plan, which was law in the land and then in several states, that women who looked like they might be shady, they might, unaccompanied by a man, they could be detained by the police, they could be examined to see if they had a sexually transmitted disease, they could be jailed. They were then, if they had one, heaven forbid, they were treated and locked up, and they treated them, those days it was mercury and arsenic. So very similar to the Tuskegee Project, where they didn't tell the men they had syphilis, and they just wanted to see what it would do if you left it untreated. Well, they were treating the women, but in a detrimental way. So that part I also talked about was the idea of being labeled as emotional. Part of that, which went with that same American Plan, was that if a husband didn't want to deal with a recalcitrant wife, they could declare them incompetent, insane. Doctors would agree to this, and women, and that was what Judith, the lady I was talking with, was referring to, women who had been, against their will, placed in a mental institution because they were considered unstable, because they were not following that norm. So the next one, please. Just one of the things that we don't really think about is industrialization made a big change in the country. That women were the first really working in factories. And the first factories were textiles. Up north they were making cotton, turning it into cloth. It also happened in Europe at the time. And that's where we get the term spinsters. Young women were spinning on the looms and doing the weaving. They also were the predominant people in these factories. Women were making up most of it. And it was women who started the whole unionization and striking. Way before Norma Ray was out there making curtain, there were women. I heard recently that it was women in Russia that were striking. That really was the precipitation for the Russian Revolution. Women in the streets protesting were starting it. But this didn't really change that whole cult of womanhood. They were still expected to be in the home. We still have that. If you're working, so it can be done. So I'm bringing this up because people haven't really thought about how far we've come and take for granted many times, young girls, that of course I could get a driver's license. Of course I could drive a car. Of course I could coach. Of course I could get a loan. Those credit cards. Not really. Can you still hear me without it? Can't hear. Sorry. They missed all that. Sorry, folks. You'll just have to read the slides. Thank you. That's what I thought. All right. If we could have the next slide. So part of the piece is that war turned out to be, for many women, a liberating piece because the men were gone and someone needed to step up. Started even in the Revolutionary War. Prudence Cummings, right, up in Connecticut, the Minute Women. All the men had gone to fight the British, and the British were coming to their town, so the women dressed up as men, got rifles, pitchforks, and turned the British back, made several prisoners, and we never hear about her. But it was an opportunity for women to step up in multiple ways. The Civil War, Harriet Tubman was a nurse and a spy and a scout. Clara Barton, many have heard of her. She was a nurse in the camps, but also her big piece was that she would help after notifying families, identifying the victims, the dead, the sick, and founded the Red Cross and stepping in for an emergency. The Crimean War, Florence Nightingale. My background's nursing. I started way back in, I won't tell you when I started, but it was when we learned about Florence Nightingale, the woman of the lamp, and I did have to read her history. And her big contribution really was that it was clean air, that you had the windows open, clean sheets, washing hands. So it was the whole idea of the germ theory and turned things around. And when she went into the hospitals where people were dying in huge numbers, it turned around. So, I mean, people still died, but not anywhere the same. So it was someone who took what was an opportunity not everyone would have and really advanced. World War I, World War II was when we started to see women actually in England. They were driving ambulances, they were nurses, they were helping out. Same here, World War II. We did have nurses who were in the service, but we also had women who stepped up to the factories. Rosie the Riveter, we can do it. But the sad thing that happened then, and happened earlier, was that when the men came back, the women were fired. They were let go because the men needed jobs and the women had to get back. And then what was the media pushing at that time? Ozzie and Harriet, the little homemaker with the little apron. So there was a push, and not everyone actually even, it wasn't conscious. Women, people, other people, men, not everyone saw this, but it was a liberator. The next piece. Early activists, well, it started as early as 1848. That we're looking at Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, rewrote the Declaration, and it was that all men and women are created equal. This was their first push to do this. The National Suffrage Association, again, with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. 1920, it took that long, 80 plus years for this to get passed. The part that I want to, if you can change the slide, is, well, I'll bring those back. But one thing I wanted to let you know, that women out west, because the role of women out west was different. If you managed to survive the plains and in those Conestoga wagons and the hardships, women, the first state to give women the right to vote was Wyoming. And they actually had in, I think it was 1869, the Suffrage Act for women. In Utah, Colorado was giving them. And the sad thing was that when Wyoming wanted to become a state, they took it away. To become a state, women couldn't vote because that wasn't the law of the land. And so I'm pointing this out because just because we currently have a right doesn't mean that right is forward in perpetuity. It can go away quickly, which is what we're seeing today. Part of the piece, too, with Women's History Month is looking at all the women who did brilliant things that we hardly ever hear about. So the Janet Taylor, I have her book here. So I found this in St. John's, and I was in the bookstore there with the pirates. So this lovely lady had something like 8 children, but was a brilliant mathematician. Her father was a preacher, and he saw how smart she was, so she knew math. And she patented several items for navigation. She even had a navigation school that men were going to. So she made a huge change. But we don't hear about her. It was her family who, 200 years later, wrote about her. Marie Curie with her husband. And it was because the husband, they were partners, but he's the one who made sure she was given credit with the Nobel Prize. The Other Einstein, it's a book out. I've read it. It's really thought-provoking because it's based on all the letters and pieces that Einstein's first wife, Milva Merrick Einstein, did the mathematics for E mc squared. That was very, very involved in writing all of his works. Got no credit at all. Wasn't even, in fact, somewhere it's quoted that he said he wasn't going to name her with this because it would diminish the importance of the Nobel Peace Prize. Hedy Lamarr, who we know from the movies, this beautiful woman, she patented the technology for cell phones. She developed it for the Navy so that it was that intermittent interruption of the, whatever the, I guess, that, whatever. Those signals, thank you, the signals, that she developed it to save from the torpedoes so that the ships could dodge the German torpedoes coming from the submarines. And it was patented, submitted to the Navy. She went to the Navy. a couple of times. They refused to use it because the men would know it was developed by a woman and they wouldn't want to use it. So it took years. The patent sat there, no one using it, until someone discovered it, and voila, we have cell phones. Patricia Bath, more recently, patented technology for laser surgery for eyes. Stephanie Kowalski, the Kevlar. And so brilliant women in science they've been there. They have to work hard, but they also get minimal recognition. And certainly we as women haven't celebrated them as much as we should. Next slide. All right, current conditions, that's fine. Current conditions, if we go back one slide, just women are still, the League of Women Voters and now are petitioning and pushing for, oh, well, there we go. Women basically are making 82 cents for every dollar a man makes, that's today. Women are more likely to die. Well, it depends, I guess. It fluctuates with the economy. But also that women for years have not done as well in surgeries because most surgeries and medications were developed based on men. The size of the average man, how they metabolize, it's changing. It has definitely in the last year been changing. But it's something that we never thought about, we never looked at, why women might not have the same reactions to a surgery, and we've lost it totally now. Is it coming? I've got my piece here. The next one was to really talk about, and I can certainly do that without it, women that have made change. And I'm going to go to the audience and ask for your recommendations. Who are the change makers? Who are the women? And who you admire, who have moved it forward for all the rest of us? I'm going to Mark.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with her court cases and persistence.
Yes, and just making people see the law and understand it, and women were also included. David.
Gloria Steinman. Easy for me to say. Yeah. Because she kind of empowered women to speak out, and I've read one of her books, and it's just amazing. I can't remember the name of it, but huh? That's it. Thank you. Yeah, and she was, I thought almost everything she said about women's rights and progression of women really worked.
Anyone else? Thank you. I'm so glad we have more people.
I just read a book called The Woman Who Could Not Be Silenced. And I believe her name was Elizabeth Parkham or something like that. And her husband didn't like the way she was disagreeing with him on religion, and so he had her committed to a mental institution. And she was there for 3 years and making all kinds of changes while she was there, and keeping a journal, which she was able to hide. And she eventually not only got out, but went and testified and got laws passed, a lot of laws passed, to make it so that a man who owned a wife, because back then this is the 1800s when there were property, that he couldn't just commit her to a mental institution when he got tired of her. But amazing woman.
Absolutely. Roy?
Billie Jean King. She fought for the right for women to get equal pay in tennis for the major tournaments. Now she has one of the stadiums at the U.S. Open named after her.
I'd like to give thanks to all the young ones coming up, like Greta Thunberg, my God, they're so brave for their age. I wasn't nearly that brave at that age. Hell, I'm not that brave at my age. They're awesome. Oh, and by the way, a lot of them are here in this church. The kids in this church are remarkable.
Anyone else? Oh, yes.
Victoria Woodhull. She was the first woman to run for president. She ran before women could vote, and she was one of the first candidates to ever support gay rights.
All right. All right, Chloe.
I don't have a specific name, but you were talking about women's contribution in the war, and you talked about the Crimean War and how the introduction of women helped with the health and everything. I also want to say that when nurses were introduced to forts in the Civil War, the mortality rate of soldiers went down 60% because of them having these soldiers just take baths every week and just, talking about just general health and everything, and that helped us with dealing with the Civil War.
All right, I've got 2 more and 3 more. All right, we'll do 3 more.
Frances Perkins, who was, I believe, a cabinet member, but was important under FDR and is the major reason that we have Social Security today. Frances Perkins.
She was fabulous. She was Secretary of Labor, so it was the minimum wage was established with her leadership, Social Security, the WPA, all of those social programs that we associate just with FDR really came from her. And he had worked with her in New York and brought her. So she was amazing. Joey?
Eleanor Roosevelt, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar. I don't know the names of all of the women representatives in the legislature, but I got to tell you, I'm happy to have them there.
All right. Chloe, you get 1 more.
I'm sorry. I immediately thought afterwards. Mary Wollstonecraft. She was one of the first people, recorded that wrote about, women's suffrage and the rights of women.
I'm coming around. All right, Peter, and then Sarah.
I was going to say Elizabeth Warren because she persists, and also Hillary Clinton because she also persists.
There we go. Persistence. All of us need persistence.
I had to look up her name, Dr. Frances Kelsey, who worked at the FDA in 1960 and was single-handedly responsible for not approving thalidomide in the United States, which caused so many birth defects, against huge pressure from the industry.
All right. Good for all of us, yes. So the one piece that I'll talk about our current concerns and end up real quick, but one piece that we talked about, and I think it was Lindsay who talked about the kids, the ones who are here, the ones who are coming every Sunday, learning about our principles. A key thing I learned in nursing years ago, it's called locus of control. It means, how do you approach the world? Do you think you have control of your life? That's internal. Internal control, locus of control means I make my own decisions. I know I do. I have that power. I choose. External locus of control is someone who doesn't think they have power, who doesn't think they should be making. They let things go and other people end up making decisions for them. And I applaud everything that Ari is doing here, because one of the key things, whether they know it or not, they're teaching, is internal locus of control. You, each of us, make your own decisions, make your own choices based on your values, what you believe. And that is so important. And you make a difference. And that's the key piece. And that's what I want all of you to know. You can make a difference because these are the current concerns. If you're not concerned, I hope you get concerned after this. Rule of law. So in this country, the rule of law has been established in the past that when case law was made, Roe v. Wade, it was case law. It wasn't legislation. It was the Supreme Court made a decision. That's been turned over. But in the past, case law was sacrosanct. If that was the law, the case law, then everything going forward, every decision on that subject, used that as the logic for making the court to make a decision. That's been changed. No longer does case law support or supersede any other piece that's coming. It's now based on the personal values of those in the courts, both in Florida Supreme Court and in the United States Supreme Court. And the part that I want you to think about is that one of the Supreme Court justices has said that their yardstick is what would the founders do. Just think about that. That's 200 plus years of case law that we're not going to pay attention to. What would Thomas Jefferson do? Yes, with his slaves. And so all of us need to think very carefully if that piece is changing. And it is changing every day. There are scary things happening based in the courts. The other is that reproductive health, I can't stress that enough. That has been with, well, it started in the 20s when they were looking for birth control. And there were laws up until the 20s. Birth control couldn't be talked about. A doctor couldn't, you couldn't tell a child, you couldn't tell a young woman. That was ways of birth control. So what did that mean for women? Well, you baby after baby after baby. Forget your health, forget what you want to do in life. If we go back to that, I mean, things are scary, but we can change that. We can speak up, we can make a difference. Education, women's history, there is a law which, I'm trying to think which one it is, but there is an education proposed law in our Florida legislature which takes out women's history, that universities and in the university system you can't teach and you can't, it's that whole, it goes with woke and that you can't talk about, yes. I mean, there's a lot that's in that bill. So suddenly, women's history that we're just learning about very possibly will not be taught in our schools. What about books that are being banned? Books that are being even considered seditious, in whatever terms they use, are being pulled from the schools. Sex education being removed from the schools. So what are we seeing with young people? We're going to see people who have no understanding of what's happening, sex education, nothing there, no access to birth control, no understanding of that. Safety is a big issue. Permitless carry. There was something like 17 people a day are dying. I saw it and it was I'm sorry, I was going to get the numbers. It was an editorial in the Sentinel this week on, there was like 17 people a day die in Florida from gunshot wounds, from gunshots. And now we're going to just, anyone can walk around no matter what their state. And freedom of speech is being considered. There's a law out that they're proposing where you cannot speak ill of someone who's in public office. So you can't even write an editorial to the editor about your feelings of a certain politician, or it's, pardon? Un-American? Un-American, yes. Well, it certainly, one would think so, but that's, if there's a Supreme Court in Florida that upholds it, it's a concern. So, call to action. All right. So, I had the UUJF, but that's the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida. Their numbers are down and they're not really following, but there are many that are. So I strongly ask all of you to follow sign up for the ACLU. They're going to show you everything that's happening. League of Women Voters will do the same thing. All you do is ask for their alerts. You can look on their website, what are the laws? Now, they are very active and they will send you updates. Progress Florida, Thousand Friends of Florida really focuses on the environment. You need to know what's happening because this session, more than any other, they are proposing some very scary pieces of legislation. All those things I was talking about. So the one way you can do it is to contact your representatives, and the more people who phone, who send emails, whether you march, whether you just, wherever you are sharing your thoughts, you need to do it now. There is that came from World War II, but it's a very sad sentiment that first they came for the Jews and I didn't speak up, and then they came for the Catholics, I didn't speak up, and then they came for me and there was no one to speak up. If we don't speak up, we could be next. Yes, right, it's as if we didn't care. So the last piece is that you want to write this down, you can see it. There is now sent it out. They are going to, Barbara Devane is their lobbyist in Tallahassee who is following all the legislation. So this is today at 5 o'clock. And it's free. There's the meeting ID and the passcode if you want to listen. She's covering everything, not just related to women. She is covering all the legislation and the impacts and really talking about what they seem to be doing and what the implications, if this gets passed, would be. I mean, there's some positive, but there's a lot of negative also. So it's the one place that I've seen where you actually get not just a narrow focus, but a larger one. So I'm going to turn it back to Paula. And thank you very much. Please, please vote your values, take your values, talk to your representatives. You can make a difference.
Double your fun. You could have 2 microphones and have twice as much fun. Mary Ann has agreed to stay after if people have more questions, which is a good thing. And we will now have some closing music. Oh, no, that's later. Oh, I'll extinguish this chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. The light of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Closing music. Who's got this with me? Oh, he's got it. Special treat today, Alan. Oh, I'm sorry, he has the postlude. I totally, dang. Okay, this song is called Immortal Love. Hymn number 10 in the Big Gray Book. Forever a never-ending sea. Our outward lips confess the name, all other names above. But love alone knows whence it came and comprehendeth love. Blow winds of love, confess the mists of hate away. Sing out, O truth divine, and tell how wide and far we stray. The letter fails, the systems fall, and every symbol wanes. The Spirit overseeing all, eternal love remains. Y'all do nice work. Blessed are the man and the woman who have grown beyond their greed and have put an end to their hatred and no longer nourish illusions. But they delight in the way things are and keep their hearts open day and night. They are like trees planted near flowing rivers which bear fruit when they are ready. Their leaves will not fail or wither. Everything they do will succeed. Stephen Mitchell. We'll have a postlude, and then we can have a snack and a conversation and turn our phones back on. Thank you so much. That every day.